going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kevin Checkwitz. This is the Kaged Review, and this is my revisited review for Captain Marvel. Um, this movie was divisive right off the bat, not only for some of the things that were done with the movie and the fact that the studio kind of said that it was a feminist movie, there was, that agenda behind it, but also some of the things Brie Larson had said just made her somebody that a lot of people didn't like personally. So I was really scared going into this movie, knowing all of that, and then I honestly was kind of pleasantly surprised when I saw the movie initially. But remember, and this is something that's been repeated a lot during this, when I first go see a movie, I go in, I watch it, I shut my brain off, I just try to enjoy what I'm seeing. As I watch a movie, more and more, I start to pick it apart. I start to see the things that I really don't like or do like about it. So directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, you have Brie Larson coming in as Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel. You have Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, Clark Gregg as Agent Phil Coulson. Jude Law comes in as Jan Rog, who is a Kree. And we'll get into Krees in a second. Jimon Hansu comes in as Korath. Korath, we have seen in Guardians of the Galaxy. He was one of Ronan's helpers. Annette Bening plays Dr. Wendy Lawson, or the Supreme Intelligence, or Mar-Vell. Lee Pace returns as Ronan the Accuser. Ben Mendelsohn plays Talos, or Keller, Agent Keller from S.H.I.E.L.D. Lashana Lynch comes in as Maria Rambeau. Gemma Chan as Minerva, and a couple of credit scenes that we'll get into. So, first and foremost, I've seen this movie 2 or 3 times now. I haven't watched it that much. But just in the, at least the second time that I saw this movie, everything that I was afraid that DC was going to do in Wonder Woman, they wound up doing in Captain Marvel. It was a very feminist movie. And instead of like an equality thing, they just went to feminine superiority, and they made all the guys that had these random little bits look like douchebags and assholes, and every guy's a pig. And it really set the tone. And I was like, you know what? This is exactly what I was afraid they were going to do with Wonder Woman. And they fucking killed it with Wonder Woman. She was a very strong figure, still vulnerable, had a male counterpart that was just as strong. They helped build each other up. It was about equality, not female superiority. And this is leaning way toward female superiority. So obviously being a guy, I'm not into that. I don't care. If you want to talk about equality, I'm willing to listen to you. If you want to bring in this kind of agenda, I'm going to shut myself down. Because instead of talking about equality, you're just attacking. And that's kind of what this movie does, to be very honest. I will say that Brie Larson, in the trailers for this movie, looked very stone-faced pretty much throughout the trailers. And thankfully, she was not. She had a lot more personality in parts in this movie, and I was very thankful for that. However, she does remain stoic for the majority of the movie. That's another big issue I had for this. They tried to cram a lot into this movie too, and so there are times when you don't exactly get enough character development to care about certain situations. One in particular, she has this female friend that she learns is a female friend, and you don't care because there's really been no build up to it. So Brie Larson is Carol Danvers. Carol Danvers doesn't really remember what's happened to her in like maybe since a few years back. And all she knows is her training now. She is with a Kree outfit, a little military operation, I guess. And as we learned from Guardians of the Galaxy, Ronan is not exactly the nicest guy, and the Kree are not exactly the nicest people. So if you paid attention to the Marvel Cinematic Universe at all, you knew that the Kree were bad people right at the onset of this movie. And so there was a big twist at the end of this where you find out that one of the Kree is a bad guy, and he's trying to get the power from Captain Marvel. Well, go figure. Initially, you meet Talos, who is one of the Skrulls. They introduced the Skrulls here, who are these race of aliens that are shapeshifters. And they wind up crashing one of their vehicles on Earth. Brie Larson goes to find them, runs into Nick Fury, and the de-aging, the CGI for this movie was phenomenal. Not just for Nick Fury, but for Agent Phil Coulson, Clark Gregg. And they've been very, very good. They were great with Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer and Ant-Man and the Wasp. The de-aging there for Marvel has just become phenomenal. It's hard to tell sometimes that it's CGI. Like if you're paying attention and you're looking and you're trying to tear apart, it's sometimes hard to tell that it's CGI. That is a compliment to whoever is working on these movies because it is phenomenal. So you kind of start, Brie Larson meets Nick Fury. They have this like little buddy cop thing going on for a while. And, it's so choppy after that. Actually, it's choppy from the beginning because there's this opening sequence where Jude Law's character is training her. Of course, like I said, he's a Kree, and they're talking about how she can't remember anything. They decide to let her go on this mission with the Kree and fight for the Kree, and she gets taken captive by the Skrulls, and they try to read her brain to find out where Dr. Wendy Lawson is, which is somebody that Carol Danvers used to work with. And so there's a very cool scene where she breaks free of this contraption that reads her mind. She's got these like things covering her fists that she can't get off. And so she has to fight with these things on her hands. And she's trying to break them off by hitting the Skrulls hard enough to get rid of them. That whole sequence was very, very good. They come to Earth. She finds the Skrulls. One of them takes a shot at her and then jumps on a passenger train. And so she gets on the train, and you've seen the previews where there's this old lady on the train, and Carol Danvers winds up hitting her. That whole sequence was very, very good. A really good chase scene there. Very cool. Again, visual effects were amazing. But it was just so choppy because you go from Kree to buddy cop to, I don't know, anything where you have to find an object, which is of course what they have to do here. And then you have to like look at like the best friend scenario. You know, she can't remember anything, and so her best friend is, you know, 3/4 of the way through trying to make her remember who she is, except you didn't care because there was no build up to this friendship. And so that was like, it just didn't fit for me. The whole objective is for the Kree to get this power source created by Mar-Vell. And the Skrulls are also trying to get this. The Skrulls, turns out, they were on a planet that the Kree took over, and they were kind of exiled, and they have nowhere to go, and so they're trying to find a home, and apparently this power from Mar-Vell can help them create another home world for them. And that's what they're trying to do, and initially they are painted as the evil ones, the bad guys. And then you find out through a conversation with Talos, played by Ben Mendelsohn, who absolutely killed it. I love Ben Mendelsohn, and I liked him as Talos, and I really liked the Kree storyline. I thought that was a very cool addition, and I liked how they brought him in and didn't instantly make them the enemy. It looked like that at first, and then they kind of flipped the script a little bit, so I liked that. Eventually, Carol Danvers realizes that Yon-Rogg is the real enemy. It leads to a face-off between those two. Ronan comes down to Earth, and he starts letting off all these bombs that Captain Marvel stops. She grabs one bomb, throws it into another one, and chain reaction, they all blow up. And she takes care of all the spaceships they let out to try to kill her. And then Ronan decides to go back to wherever he was. And then Captain Marvel, she takes care of Yon-Rogg. And that was it, dude. Very choppy, and I really didn't like the direction they went with not only the Captain Marvel character, completely stoic most of the way through the movie. She had a couple of joke, lighthearted moments, but not really anything like we're used to in a Marvel movie. And, you know, there's been all this talk about how she's the most powerful Marvel character or Avenger. And, they just made it bland. And so there were so many things that I really had issue with. Now, it was definitely fun at times. The fight scene where she had those things on her hands was very well done. Like I said, the chasing on the train was very cool. And then you also have the introduction of this cat, Goose, who turns out to be another alien life form posing as a cat called a Flurkin. And they had some very funny moments with this Flurkin, where there are a bunch of Kree soldiers chasing Nick Fury, and this Flurkin just has a bunch of tentacles and grabs all these soldiers and flinging them all over. It was actually very well done, very funny. One thing I did not like about the Flurkin, though, and this is something that a lot of people had issue with, not just me. So everybody's wanted to know how Nick Fury got the scar on his eye, and it's been this big mystery. Nick Fury's talked about it so many times throughout the 10 years in the Marvel Universe. And it turns out this Flurkin cat scratches him in the eye, he loses his eye. And that was just like the biggest waste of a storyline ever. Like, it was just like, come on, guys. That's what you're going with? That was one of Marvel's big letdowns, if I'm being honest. So it was enjoyable. I mean, there were definitely scenes that made you go, oh, that's pretty damn cool. But then there were things that were just like, I don't care. I don't care. We had no build up with the characters. Storyline's kind of choppy. The acting, I mean, for what it was, could have been better. If I'm being honest, the stoic thing is overdone anyway. So I just felt like it was not Marvel's best movie, especially coming off the heels of everything that we had seen lately. You had some absolutely amazing movies here with Black Panther and Infinity War. And I actually really liked the first Spider-Man. Not that it was the greatest movie, but they did flesh out their villain in the Vulture. And so they had so many cool things that they've had. And then they dropped Captain Marvel, which was highly anticipated and built up beyond belief. And they kind of dropped the ball on it. Oh, you also get a mid-credit scene where the Avengers, they're wondering what's going on with the pager that Nick Fury had. They're trying to figure it out. The pager stops. And then they come face to face with Captain Marvel. And then you get an end credit scene where the Flurkin is on Nick Fury's desk. Earlier in the movie, he had swallowed the Tesseract. And so he coughed it up on Nick Fury's desk, and that's how the Tesseract got to Earth. And so for this, I have to give it a 7.5 out of 10. It was still very enjoyable. It was a very good movie. But it was not what I expect from a Marvel movie at this point. So that's where I'm at, 7.5 out of 10. Still very good, but could have been a lot better. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackowitz, Kaged Nation, out.